She then sits on a bench for a few seconds after eating the whole bucket of fried chicken. Then there's an obvious cut as she's, jumping off of the bench to throw up in a garbage can or whatever. And by obvious cut, I mean from the same angle. And from the same angle, I mean one of two things. Either they couldn't figure out a way to get this girl to hold fake vomit in her mouth for 7 seconds, or she sat there for way too long and they had to cut it so that the audience wouldn't start to think about anything in the movie during a moment where nothing would happen. Either way, it was sloppy. Yes, I know, I'm ripping off Red Letter Media. I don't care. Near the beginning of the film, they establish that Precious needs to hold down the listen button in order to hear anybody through the intercom.
Press listen, stupid.
And yet here, she's able to hear through without actually pressing down the button at first.
All right, Clarice, I spoke to Mr. Wicker, and he told me that you're one of his...
Sloppy. Not many of the characters had any character. The only real thing distinguishing her classmates from each other was that one of them dressed funny and one of them would switch back and forth between very thick accent.
Tree. I got all the way to Brooklyn. The church was up the block and around the corner upon the 3 train. I was born in Kingston, Jamaica.
To not much of an accent at all.
How was it? This free me? So I'm here to get my reading up so I could get my GED.
We have a wonderfully forced scene in the movie where Precious's mother is watching TV and she tells her that she's starving and to go make her some food. Precious makes a giant plate load of fatty, greasy food for her and her mother says,
God, how am I supposed to eat pig's feet with no collard greens?
Then she tells Precious that she has to eat the food because she made it wrong.
You eat it.
Precious says she's not hungry, but her mother verbally forces her to eat it somehow. Anyway, the entire point of that scene is so that they can rip the last shred of responsibility from the character that we as an audience possibly could have interpreted away from us. Her weight problem. The scene served no other purpose than to say, look how innocent she is. Nothing is her own fault. Even her weight problem is completely because of her mother. Does it matter that this forced idea completely contradicts the fried chicken scene I mentioned earlier? Apparently not. And why is she watching a subtitled film if she can't read? I guess that could be intentional. I'll let that one slip. Precious begins to speak in front of her class. Then we see her make some weird expression on her face for not even enough time to notice, and then it cuts to her in the hospital delivering a baby. I guess I can tell what the director was trying to do with that, but he didn't really do it very well at all. Anyway, what bothers me about this scene is that all of her classmates who have hated her throughout the entire movie are at the hospital, acting like her best friends. First of all, why are they there? Did they have some sort of impromptu field trip? Second, weren't they completely hating her throughout every previous scene in the movie? They all changed simultaneously as if the first half of the movie didn't even happen. It's not even like it was convenient to deliver some cheesy plot device. It was just sloppy. I hate it. I hope I don't have to justify myself in every single thing I do. Red Letter Media, you inspire me. There you go. I love your stuff. Shout out! Last but opposite from least, we have the scene in which Monique earns her Oscar. She was nothing short of fantastic during the previous scenes, but in this scene she steals the show from everyone. Do I have a problem with this scene? Not really, no. If someone only saw this scene of the movie and gave it a 4-star review, I wouldn't complain. Monique delivered an outstanding performance that completely deserved her win in the Best Supporting Actress category. Unfortunately, I feel like the majority of the film just kept most people at a neutral stance where they didn't really understand anything. With this being the last scene of the film and the only effective one, it left people with a powerful impression that completely governed their overall outlook of the movie. A good example of this effect is in the movie Funny Games, where everyone will love the first 75% of the movie until the director breaks the fourth wall. The movie nearly changes genre in an interesting and daring way, but after that scene, everybody but few changes their opinion of the movie from amazing to terrible. I love that movie, it's great. Anyway, Precious is one of the sloppiest movies I've ever seen. People will watch it thinking they're cultured, having broken away from mainstream films, but fail to realize how much financial and commercial backing this movie had from Oprah and Tyler Perry. No, being popular does not make a movie worse, but elevating yourself from people out of misconception for that same reason makes you look like a jackass. Don't get me wrong, I think this movie had a lot of potential, but it was not amazing. It had an amazing performance, but considering all of the things I've pointed out, it was still nominated for Best Picture. It won Best Adapted Screenplay instead of Up in the Air. The fact that this film was nominated for Best Director is insulting. The only deserving Oscar it got was Monique's performance. If I'm supposed to like this movie because the events kind of happened to real people in some vague way, then I guess we're all supposed to like every movie that's based on a true story, like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Fargo. And for those of you who are still mad at me, I'm sorry I had problems with a movie that I'm supposed to like.
Your movie sucks.